What's up everyone, Leviathan here. Today we're going to build the Acrobee75. This is basically my build kit, and it consists of the brushless 75 frame with the carbon fiber reinforcement plate, some Azzy props, NewBeeDrone Gold Edition brushless motors, the BeeBrain V3, can't wait to use this, and then we got a camera, the Goober mount, camera mount, and then the battery mounts down here. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to install is the BeeBrain brushless V3 onto the frame here. So we will not need any of those, and any of those. Actually, before we get started, I do want to point out the tools you will need. You will need a Phillips screwdriver, and that's it. I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to open up the box, but other than that's all you need. Okay, so you have the flight controller here, and it is already pre-soldered for the power lead, which is great. You've got your vibration grommets, mounting screws. This is it's right here. So camera is gonna plug in here. This is a UART port for this connector if you're gonna connect anything via UART, which would be like for a Crossfire or, well, anything I guess that you can put into a UART. We'll set this aside. We're not gonna need that in this build. First off, we need to find the orientation of the board here and make sure that we got front being front and back being back. One easy way to tell is these little clips here on the back are actually for the Crossfire Immortal antenna. That is going to be in the back. I believe it's switchable where you can go forward or back. Also, you can look at the logo and the arrow should be pointing up and down. We're gonna get the rubber grommets, the vibration grommets, put on the ends of the board here and then install them to the frame. So let's go ahead and do that. A couple of things real quick I wanted to point out on the board here. Right here are the motor pads. If you want to solder up the motor instead of using the connectors here on the bottom, you're more than welcome to do that. It'll save you a little bit of weight. You have your bind button right here. It's really tiny and it can be a little difficult to get to once it's installed in the frame. But if you know where it's at, it's a lot easier because there's LEDs right next to it here, and when these are on, it's kind of hard to see where that button is, so just know ahead of time where it's at. Another thing is you'll have one of your diversity antennas is a FR Sky version. One of the diversity antennas is on the top, and one of them is on the bottom, and there's a pretty cool way to route it in the frame, so I'll show you that once we get to that point. Also, there is a little arrow right underneath your video antenna that's pointing forward, so that way you know it's forward. Another easy way to tell is that the USB port will be in the back. So I just want to show you that real quick. Next we'll put the grommets on and then put it onto the frame. Now remember which way is back, your USB, and then remember the little clips here on the back of the frame. We want to run the power right down through here, and then don't squeeze it on there yet because you want to get this this antenna moved out from underneath, and it's not pinched. And then press these down. Now we'll go ahead and screw down the flight controller to the frame using the included little tiny Phillips screws. I do have a small Phillips screwdriver. You're gonna need one of these with a fine pit, like for fine point for like glasses or sunglasses or whatever. Okay, now remember I was telling you earlier about a cool place to run this antenna. You can actually, there's a little hole right here and right here, and you can actually run the antenna through that hole so it points up. You don't have to, but it's just like kind of keep everything neat and lower the chances of it getting inside of the props while you're in flight. So okay, so there you go. Okay, now we're going to install the battery mount. Now you can do this later, but it is much more difficult, as I found out. So what you do want to do is you'll notice that it's kind of indented on one side. So that is going to help give you clearance for the USB port. So make sure that that's pointing out, and then you've got your frame forward and back. So you're going to install it like this and screw in the screw from the opposite side and just screw it down barely tight. All right, so take your screw. Now the kit comes with screws for both the 2S and a 1S, so I'm gonna do this twice. I'm gonna install as if it was a 1S on one side and a 2S on the other side, just so you can see the difference. But we're gonna use the same screws for both of them in this case. So the print itself is gonna hold the screw in, so screw into the 3D print from the carbon fiber end. So you'll do that on both sides for the 1S, and now I will show the 2S install. Okay, for the 2S version, you're basically just gonna sandwich two of these together. So get the screw started on one side and then put it onto the carbon fiber plate and then screw that past into the next side. Basically stick it through like that and then screw that onto a second piece. Right here, I'll go ahead and do it to show you. This actually could be a cool thing to put on even on a 1S, so you could have the drone slightly tilting forward for that whole shot if you were racing. That might actually be worth trying. I actually think I might even keep it on there like that. Okay, 1S side, that's how it would look on a 1S, and then the 2S side, that's how it would look on the 2S. When you install into the frame on the 1S, you're gonna most likely wanna put this going in toward the flight controller so that the bottom is still flat. If you want to have the whole shot, then you can do it exactly how I did here and have it so that way the frame will kind of it'll sit up a little bit. Give you that takeoff. Anyway, that's how I'm gonna do it. Okay, the next thing we're gonna install is the motors. I'm going with the Gold Edition brushless motors. There are other options out there. Choose what you like. So the connectors are pre-soldered on each one of these motors. They also give you shorter leads, so you can solder them over for a smaller frame. These ones must be wired for the 75 and probably 60, I'm guessing. But to install them, you're going to put them in here, but you also need to install the carbon fiber piece, the reinforcement plate, with it. When you install that, make sure you're matching the arrows with the arrows of the frame. I don't believe it matters at all, except for that it looks cooler. So you just kind of press these in and then install each motor. Red is on the left side on the top, black is on the right side. And then you're going to go across with the same colors. The other black on the opposite corner of the first black and the other red on the opposite corner of the first red. So that's how it's going to be installed. Okay, that's done. Next thing you're gonna do is plug in all of the connectors. Make sure that the holes, see how the pins are on one side, not in the direct middle, so match that up with the pins inside of the flight controller in here. Okay, most of the way done. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the camera into the camera housing and the plate here to mount it. So let's go ahead and do that next. Okay, here's all the pieces for the camera, the Goober Canopy, the mount for the camera itself, and the mounting screws. Now, which direction is up for this? Basically, when you're looking at the camera, this connector right here should be on the left side, and then you will have the camera up at the top. That's the best thing I can do to tell you. On this one, the PCB writing is right side up that way as well, but I can't and I don't want to promise that every single one is going to be that way. However, the connector will always be on the left side. So when you install it, make sure that this is on the left side. Okay, I'm going to do my best to show this on camera. This can be the most difficult part. Remember what I just said, the wire on the left, you're gonna take the lens cap off of the camera, and then there's a little slot here inside of the Goober Canopy, and that is going to be what your camera slots into. So feed the lens through, slot it into the slot, kind of press it down so it is in there but not all the way. Make sure your wire is coming straight out so that this mount can clear it. And then you're gonna try and feed this clip around the inside of the lens. So on the inside here. So I'm gonna try and do it. I've done it on camera once, but it was not that easy. So let's just go for it. Sit this in, line it up with the hole, and then I'm not gonna screw it all the way down, just enough to hold it in there, and then we'll get the other side in there. Okay, so it's in there. Best of luck to you. These screws that are holding the flight controller, you're gonna use 3 of them to mount this. 1 in the back, 2 on the sides, none in the front. Orient your frame facing forward, and then go ahead and remove these, the back and then the 2 side screws. You'll want to plug in the camera before screwing this down. It would be next to impossible to not do it that way. Okay, also get your video antenna. That's the one with the big piece at the end here, and get that through the giant hole on the back of the Goober. Another good idea would be to take the other radio antenna and put it through one of the holes here. Okay, line up the holes and screw it back down. All of the Acrobees to this point, even the brushless, are a props in configuration. That means that the blades in the front should turn in towards the frame from the top in versus going out toward the sides of the frame. So props in, match that front and rear, and then it's basically just press fit. So line it up with the hole, press it down, and it's in there. So do that with all 4. Remember, props in configuration. It does fly better. We've tried it both ways, and all of the hex files that NewBeeDrone will make and release will come with a props in configuration. We are done. It is built. It is awesome. It looks great. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go onto the computer. We're going to flash whatever the latest hex file is from NewBeeDrone. You'll go to their website and to their download page to find this. You'll get a hex file that has it pre-tuned and pre-configured exactly for this setup or any other changes that they might make. So if they have a different, say, motor output and the tune is gonna be different, or if they're gonna have a crossfire release if you're using a crossfire module, all that will be there ready to go. I highly recommend using that instead of going on your own. Unless you're an expert or a professional and you know what you're doing, then by all means tune it. Our tune, or the tune that I make for NewBeeDrone, is on the softer side. It's supposed to allow a little bit more like leeway if a prop gets bent or anything like, or something like that. And it's also made for the most efficiency possible. So I found that the tighter you have this tune, the better you make this fly, the lower the flight time or the lower the efficiency. So we're gonna try and get that perfect middle ground. It is not a perfect tune. It is not intended to be a perfect tune. Tune it better if you can. And then send us that tune and let us try it out, because that would be awesome. Tuning can be very difficult, especially on the small guys. So let's head over to the computer, and then I'll show you how to download the hex file and install it. Then we'll bind this, and then we will be basically done at that point. Okay, first thing you want to do after you have your build completed is you want to head over to NewBeeDrone's website, and here you'll find the latest version of the Betaflight hex file for the frame. So go to newbeedrone.com, and here we are on the homepage. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and look for right over here for download. Go ahead and click download. Once you reach the downloads page, you're going to scroll down and find the BeeBrain Brushless V3, and then here you'll have the GitHub releases. Click on link, and that will take you to the NewBeeDrone GitHub page for the BeeBrain Brushless V3. So here you'll have some of the base hex files, but what we were looking for is the one that says 75. Now at the time of this recording, the 75 has not been uploaded yet. It should be uploaded in the next few days, but we're gonna use the 65 for this example because the frames are pretty much the same, just the tune is a little bit different. Okay, next head over to Betaflight and plug in your BeeBrain brushless V3 flight controller into a USB port. And then hit update firmware. Over here you want to go to the bottom right of the page and hit load firmware local, and then select the file that you just downloaded. We want to do a full chip erase and go ahead and click flash firmware. Once flashing is complete, you can hit connect and you will be connected to the flight controller with the updated hex file. Hey, sorry to interrupt your video. Levi here from the future. I forgot to mention a very important step that you must do in flashing a new firmware to the BeeBrain brushless V3. You need to calibrate the accelerometer, otherwise it won't be level. To do this, simply hold your Acrobee as level as possible and click this button here. Wait for it to get done, and that's all. All right, back to the video. Okay, one thing you might want to change once you've got everything bound and ready to go is go to the modes tab here and change your arming mode, and actually angle, horizon, all of these just to your liking. I know that mine is going to arm on aux3 all the way at the end. I am going to disable angle and horizon for now, and I'm also going to change the flip over after crash to aux1 because I used aux3 for my arm, and then hit save. Once that's complete, you can disconnect and you can go fly. Okay, next we're going to bind the frame to the radio, so go ahead and get a battery and plug in your freshly built frame. And on your radio, go ahead and get into bind mode. Once you're in bind mode, you're going to find the bind button, and remember, like I said, it's in the back. It's really hard to see with this flashing LED, but from the left side, just get a small pick or screwdriver and you will see the button. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, now we're zoomed in. I don't know with that flashing LED if you'll be able to see it, but it's a little button right here. And be careful not to short anything. I am using a metal tip, so probably not the smartest idea. But get in there and press it, and then let it go. I'd wait like there we go. Wait like 4 or 5 seconds and it should be bound. All right, and then we will disconnect. Go ahead and get your battery in there all the way and plug it in.
Telemetry signal recovered.
And press start on good time.